Hello, beautiful souls. Oh, something wrong with my camera. There we go. Hello. Thank you much for joining in. It's 6:30 in the morning, and what am I doing? Talking about Neo-Advaita. Actually, I was doing some stretching, listening to a beautiful, beautiful talk on Buddhism, and it connected some dots with why Neo-Advaita is so messed up and dangerous. So in this talk, this Buddhist monk was talking about another Buddhist monk, and someone asked this Buddhist monk, so why did you become a monk? You know, you had all these blessings, you had wealth, you had a good family. Like, why did you become a monk? And this monk said, well, because I heard the Dharma, which is a way of saying the Buddhist teaching, which pointed out that the world is incomplete and that the world is dominated by craving, meaning that every person in the world feels this sense of incompletion. It's part of the human experience, right? To feel incomplete, to feel like something's lacking, to not feel whole. But the problem is that then the way that you, me, we, human beings, then try to address that. We try and address it through people, places, and things. And once we start doing that, then we get caught in the cycle of craving and attachment and materialism, and then it just goes downhill from there. So Neo-Advaita teaches some of these truths. It teaches that in our essence, we're whole, but we're not aware of that, and we keep trying to find happiness through people, places, and things, which doesn't work. And so all of that is exactly what traditional Advaita teaches. It's what Buddhism teaches. It's what most mystical, spiritual systems that are focused on ending suffering teach. Those things, the real Advaita, the real non-duality and fake non-duality, they have those teachings in common. But where things get different is then the methodology to overcome that problem. It's like they both agree, fake non-duality and real non-duality agree on what's the problem, and they agree on the solution, but what they radically disagree on is the methodology. And this really ridiculous methodology that Neo-Advaita presents is where all the problems come in. I mean, there's subtleties of language as well. For example, you know, the Buddha will talk about peace and eternal peace. Traditional Advaita, traditional non-duality, will talk about the same thing of wholeness, completion that lasts forever. And Neo-Advaita tends to talk about nothingness. And so there's some subtleties in language, but we'll put that aside for the moment. So a legitimate spiritual path is kind of this systematic, holistic, step-by-step process. You can see this in the Buddha's Eightfold Path. You can see this in the eight-limbed yoga of Patanjali, which is very similar to the Eightfold Path and of the Buddha. And you can see this in traditional Advaita, in which there's these various preparatory practices before you get really deep into the philosophy and before you even get into the practice of self-inquiry. In fact, Shankara said that there were prerequisites before self-inquiry. One of the other main components that differentiates Neo-Advaita from actual Advaita is it's within this framework of reincarnation and karma and doing your duty and how to be a healthy, balanced human being and actually having a relationship with Bhagavan, with the creator of the universe. I'm not going to get too far into that. It's its own topic, but these things are considered non-negotiable in traditional Advaita Vedanta. What does Neo-Advaita do? It throws them all away. In fact, it criticizes them. Whereas traditional Advaita says, you need these things. So Neo-Advaita hops right to philosophy and right to self-inquiry and gives people no capacity to navigate the world. It'll offer these truths of like, hey, you are whole and complete. Hey, Marion, I'll get to your comment in a minute. You are whole and complete. Your problem is that you don't know this. So you seek things, you seek people, places, and things. All those things I just said, pretty much all the other classical spiritual paths agree with. But then from there, the next step that Neo-Advaita takes is completely different and what causes all the problems. Like Neo-Advaita will say, just inquire. Or Neo-Advaita will say, don't do anything because you're already enlightened. So it's the methodology that creates this insanity. As I've shared many times, I was stuck in it for a long time. And, you know, the most popular Neo-Advaita teacher on the planet, Muji, has had 3 people kill themselves at his centers. And just recently, a 4th person attempted. Luckily, they didn't succeed because Muji teaches, like all Neo-Advaita teachers, he teaches a false methodology. I won't even say false. He teaches a methodology that is different from all the other classical teachers, but more importantly, it doesn't work, but maybe most importantly, it's destructive. It's harmful. It's unnatural. It just doesn't work and leads people in a downwards direction. Marion, hi. Marion wrote, glad you're doing well. I am, thank you. I'm currently reading Depending on No Thing by Robert Saltzman. It really resonates with me. Sits adjacent to pure Zen. Cool. I don't know anything about it, but I have profound respect for Zen as a traditional system of awakening and as a system of awakening that has these safeguards built in that I've been talking about. So I'm going to post a link to the talk by this Buddhist talk I was watching. It was amazing. I really appreciate this this Buddhist monk. His name is Ajahn Brahmali, because that's the other thing that really differentiates a classical system, a genuine system from Neo-Advaita. It's got common sense and balance built into it. It addresses the person holistically and individually. Like, where are you at your life? What imbalances do we need to tend to? Where Neo-Advaita is just like, just inquire. Like, forget everything else. That's why it's a form of escapism, and that's why it's a religion, because it's a formula. So I really appreciate this Buddhist monk, Ajahn Brahmali. He's so common sense. He so talks about the necessity for a foundation before, it's so interesting. Buddhism, the final stages of the Eightfold Path of the Buddha are very similar to traditional Advaita. It's these advanced forms of meditation, just like self-inquiry. But the Buddha was adamant that there are all these preparatory practices you have to do. The short version is you need something called right view, a right understanding, a right paradigm about life and the spiritual path, and you need ethics. And ethics is the wrong word. You need a harmonious way of life. In essence, you need to be a balanced, functional human being before going into the advanced meditative practices. So I'm currently getting a lot of mileage out of, it's called Theravada, or traditional, I won't say traditional, early Buddhism because it's so systematic and it's so opposite of Neo-Advaita. Just absolute common sense, absolute progressive development to prepare one for the advanced meditative practices. So thanks for saying hi, Marion. And I wish everyone a good Neo-Advaita free day, or a good day of recuperating from Neo-Advaita. Thank you so very much. Take care.